Okay, hey, happiest day after Valentine's Day, caregivers. Sending lots of love to all of you, to all caregivers everywhere. Just so you know, you are loved, you are worthy, and you are seen. So, no matter what age, and we'll talk about that more today, no matter how young or how old you are, if you're a caregiver, there's some love for you. Welcome to the Caring Caregiver Show, brought to you by Givers Guides Online Magazine. Givers Guides, of course, is a caregivers guides to caregiving. So it's written exclusively for caregivers, and from a caregiver's point of view, get your subscription, go to that. Right on the screen there, you'll see it, giversguides.com, where you can also check out some past issues. All right, so today is February 15th. And we are in the month of love. And so it is the Caregivers Self Love Month for us. And all month long, we've been concentrating on wellness and self love and how important that is for you. So that starts with the love I'm giving you. And I'm Savvy, I'm your host. And I'm also the founder of Give Me a Break. Now, Give Me a Break is a nonprofit organization, and we're caring for caregivers. We're here to bring back the joy of caregiving. And each week, we help caregivers to survive and thrive, actually. So you can check out our website, and let me just click on that. There you go. Look at that. My technology is just astounding. And you can get more information by going to gab808.org or give us a call at 808-754-3787. Bear in mind that phone does not have a live person that answers it, but you can leave a message or you can text that phone number and we will get someone to contact you. So best shot, go to our website, get the information you need, and everything's pretty much there. We do offer you a break right off the bat in our support sessions that are free and online. So totally convenient and totally affordable. And that's every Tuesday evening at 8 o'clock. Excuse me 1 minute. I know, on camera, I'm drinking, but I had to have that this morning. I needed the pep. And of course, so every Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. and every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Now, remember, that is Hawaii Standard Time, so make the time change, sorry, if necessary. But every caregiver really needs to get on these sessions. It's really your connection to community. And, we're currently discussing caregiver survival tips, and we're giving each other tips and how to get through that. Last night, we had an amazing discussion really about making your health a priority and how important that is. Sorry, 1 more minute. I tried to drink something so I wouldn't cough, and I ended up drinking something that made me cough. Life is fun, isn't it? All right, here we go. Well, it is the month of love, like I said. And so for caregivers, that means self-love. The current February issue of the Giver's Guide is just chock-a-block full of ways to love yourself. Remember now, with the current percentage of caregivers that pass before the one they're caring for is at 30%. That's scary in itself. Bear in mind that if you are 70 or older and you are caring for another person, that percentage shoots up to 70% will pass before their caregivers. Your wellness matters. If something happens to you, who's going to take care of them? What's going to happen, right? I know you're tired. I know you're frustrated. And that's the last thing you want is one more thing to have to think about. But there's a lot of red flags that you can look for and notice and take notice of, that you could be primed for an accident. You could fall, right? And you are get some help. You can also reach out to us at info@gab808.org as well, and we'll guide you. We'll help put you somewhere. We'll get you connected to somebody that can help you. All right. Okay, where are we? And of course, get your subscription, like I said, because that's really a great guide to survival. And for those of you who have a subscription already, first of all, thank you, remembering that all profits go to support Give Me a Break. But for those of you that have that, thank you so much. And you probably are familiar with a column in our Giver's Guides magazine called Ask Christy. Ask Christy is a column written by the CFO of Give Me a Break and the founder of Little Peace of Mind and a caregiver. And I have a very special co host today. And so I'd like to welcome my friend, Christy Pickrell. Hi, Christy.
Hi,
How are
Sally.
you?
I
It's
am
so
doing great.
I'm so thankful. Thank you so much for being here today and for co-hosting with me. I love that I can have a co-host now, and that I can share that with everybody. So I appreciate you stepping in to do that. How are you?
I am doing great.
Wonderful.
Had a great Valentine's Day, and so hope you had a great Valentine's Day,
I
and
did.
focused on just taking care of me for a minute last night.
Good for you. See, there's that self love. It's so important. You know what I did yesterday? I had a really good cry. That's what I did. I had a little self love cry. I went to see my mom and I had to go through some things in storage and the rush of memories. So I had a good cry and I got balanced and I got it out of my system. And that was actually refreshing for me. So you've been on the show before, and gosh, when you've been here last time was quite a bit ago.
Yeah.
But you have Our Little Peace of Mind, and folks, if you don't know, Our Little Peace of Mind is Christy's company, and she's the CFO and founder of. CEO and founder of Our Little Peace of Mind. And Our Little Peace of Mind is a great company in that it helps you keep organized. And I'll let you talk more about that. So tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about peace, but also update us on what's been going on.
Well, at Peace of Mind, we try to help coordinate all of that information and coordinate, kind of getting rid of that paper overload and kind of organizing it and taming it and being
Right.
able to, use that paperwork and keep those tracking information in a usable manner.
Right.
But one of the things I'm really excited about is we've been doing a lot of advocacy for kids with disabilities. And I have 20 years of experience advocating for my son in school districts with IEP meetings and care coordination for him. And right now, we've been able to take that knowledge and training that I've had and help other families get through the IEP meetings. We will do documentation reviews of your existing paperwork, make recommendations. I'll even attend your IEP meetings with you if I'm able, whether it be Zoom or in person. But I work to kind of facilitate a productive team atmosphere between the parents and the schools
Yeah,
and kind of
that's
bring
awesome.
everybody together to work cohesively.
So, for those who are not familiar with that as well, Christy, your son is autistic,
My
and
son is
you
autistic.
yes, and you've been dealing with that. So you're a caregiver in the sense that you have your son who has autism, but also you have a daughter and you have a husband who's also your third child, I believe. No, I wouldn't
I
say
have
that. He's a great guy.
no, he's my fourth. Um, and I have a new grandbaby.
Yes,
So
so you're a caregiver in so many ways. And so, also for those who don't know, please explain what IDP means.
IEP is an individual education plan. It's those plans that are mandated by federal law to ensure that all of our kiddos have an appropriate education.
Right.
And an IEP individual education plan is designed to help our kiddos that have some extra needs, whether it be autism or a speech impediment, maybe, dyslexia, dysgraphia, you know, different developmental needs that, help educate and get our kids back on track.
Yeah.
So,
So,
um,
and it's a hard world to navigate. My own granddaughter is autistic as well, and it's a tough world to navigate sometimes when you don't have that support. So, having that support is wonderful that you do that and that you put your heart into that, and that we can pull a community together in so many ways. One is hard, two is better, but a community is awesome. And
and
so, if
it's
we could
all
bring it,
about bringing teamwork,
yeah,
bringing
yeah.
both sides and working cohesively.
Yes, yeah. It's a great, I appreciate that. So, okay, so let's talk about, was there anything else you wanted to share about that? Sorry, I
Well, I
interrupted you.
wanted to share a little tip.
I had a feeling there
I
was one more thing.
I had a little tip for everybody. The first thing I learned when I was in advocacy training for my son, and it's a silly little thing, but it goes a long way to easing the stress and the anxiety when you walk into those IEP meetings. Bring a plate of cookies. I
Really?
know you can't, it's hard to be mad at somebody that brings you food.
Is
And you
there
would
any
not be
particular cookie that works better?
cookies, muffins, anything, just some little snack,
I love that.
and you walk in with this and it's like, okay, thank you for, meeting with me.
Yeah.
Have a cookie.
I think
And
we
it
should
was,
make that the standard moving forward for any meeting, any meeting,
hey,
anywhere.
I'm
The
all for
standard
that.
now is we must have cookies.
But you would be amazed at how much it brings the tension down.
Right. Well, these people that you're going to the meetings with, they themselves are caregivers. I would
Hmm.
venture to say that it's not often that somebody thinks to do something nice for them and to give them a
Exactly.
cookie or to bring them something. So that's so wonderful and so thoughtful. And I think that maybe that's just going to be the way that we're going to conquer the whole world, is that we all start carrying around a plate of cookies no matter
A
where
plate of
we go.
cookies.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that tip. That's wonderful. All right. So speaking of tips, and Christy's got a lot of them, because Christy also writes our Ask Christy article in the Giver's Guides, and she want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and I write from a perspective of experience. Not classic. I am what I call life trained. Um, and it's one of the reasons I'm so excited to be co-hosting with you because of our next get or your guest coming up.
Mhm.
But I started caring very young for my grandmother. And so I write from experience.
Yeah.
So I answer all my questions that come in. Just because it doesn't get published in the magazine doesn't mean I don't answer it.
Right.
Um, but we want to ask your burning questions. It can be as simple as, where do I find this type of resource? Or it can be, how did you deal with the first time somebody didn't remember you? And it
What
was
do
my
I do when
grandmother who
I'm
had
losing my
Alzheimer's.
mind? Right.
You
Yeah.
know, the first time she didn't recognize me when I came to
Right.
visit. And, from emotional to bread and butter, 1 + 1 = 2 questions. I
Right.
try to answer them all. And I do
Right.
it from a place of experience
Yeah. And
and
that's the thing.
love and
It's a
respect.
practical answer, right? It's a
Hmm.
practical answer, and then backed up with some resources that we can
Hmm.
help people to contact if it's more specific needs. And of course, we always recommend that if you've got some questions that involve a professional, to seek that professional help. So, we're
Absolutely.
all about a practical guide for caregivers. And really, sometimes that's all you need. You just need to know that you're not alone, and that somebody else has felt that way, or somebody else feels that way now, or is going through what you're going through. And so that's the community that we build, especially with Ask Christy. So, gosh, you guys, just go ahead and put your questions to her. And I believe the email is, and I didn't put it up on the screen, my bad.
Ask
Um,
Christy at giversguides.com.
right. So it's askchristy@giversguides.com. One more time, ask Christy, CHRISTY, at giversguides.com. And you can send any question you want into her. She'll answer them, and it may end up in one of the magazines. So that would be a fun thing. Great. Wonderful. And you were talking about our guest who's coming up. So if
Mhm.
I'm not cutting you off, I think it's time to move on
No,
to our
I think it's
show.
time to bring her on.
I can't wait. I'm so excited to meet our guest today. She's a top 10 CNN hero and the founder and president of the American Association of Caregiving Youth, the only nonprofit, by the way, in the U.S. dedicated to supporting, helping, and empowering caregivers who are in middle and high school. Isn't that awesome? Their mission is that no child should have to drop out of school because of family caregiving responsibilities. Just amazing. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Connie Siskowski. Aloha, Doctor and Dr. Connie, and nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really my honor, because the more people understand that what children go through as caregivers is the same, it pretty much what they do pretty much mirrors the adult and how they feel also.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people don't even include in the equation the fact that a young one who is in that middle school to high school age even has any kind of caregiving issues or needs that kind of support, and yet they're sort of the real unforgotten ones. And I'm not sure if you all can see the background behind us, but you'll see a picture of a young girl there with a lei on. She was being presented as our caregiver of the year this year, and she's in her 20s, and she's what's called a sandwich caregiver. Asia Higa, who was on a few weeks ago and shared with us her experience, because she felt like no one even saw what she did and it was her obligation. Do you find that with the youth that you speak with?
Well, yeah, because there's several reasons. One is that it's really the systems of healthcare, education, and the community that are involved. So there's typically nothing in the curriculum of those professionals, so that Christy, when you go to an IEP meeting, it might be with school people who have no kind of background and understanding of the stresses of caregiving.
Mm-hmm.
And plus the kids want to be normal. So it was like during COVID, we always say that the kids, when they get dropped off or they go into school, they put on a mask because they don't want to share their feelings. They want to be normal. And during COVID, they had to have a real mask. So they were really wearing two masks. And, so wanting to be normal, not sharing, people not understanding. There's a whole host of things that go together that make this very much an invisible population. And we all know that when we're under stress, right, there's these studies about presenteeism for a caregiver who's employed and they're at work. And so if you look at school as the workplace of the child may be late, they may not be able to complete their homework, they have trouble focusing, and they may even drop out of school, just as an employed caregiver may have to leave work. And so they're physically there, but they're not present.
Yeah, that's true. And or they may not, no one really reaches out to a child in any way and kind of wonders, are you okay? What's going on? They just think maybe they're being lazy or stubborn, and so that's already a tough time for them to have to be able to speak up about doing something like caregiving, which is kind of
Right.
completely out of the norm.
Some of our kids have to do their own laundry, right? So maybe their clothes aren't always clean. They may be wrinkled as opposed to their friends. They may be bullied. And so, they are really often at a disadvantage.
Yes, I agree. They are in many, many ways. I think that somebody more my age, is where and I'm in my 60s. So it's automatically kind of assumed that you're taking care of your parents. And so people might have a little more empathy for what I would go through as a caregiver, as opposed to somebody younger. And they even have to deal with their own friends who are doing things on weekends or going out and having fun or participating in things, right? And that's got to be horrible for them.
Exactly. And so, what they do is really behind a closed door, because people don't go in. It's hard to have friends over. You're taking care of your grandmother who has Alzheimer's disease, and you never know when she might act out. Your friends' parents don't want their child to be exposed to something like that. So sometimes there's shame and guilt. And you may see a child pushing an adult in a wheelchair, but who thinks about what happens when they get home?
And they think, oh, how sweet. They're helping out somebody who's caring for the grandma.
And then, we have more grandparents raising grandchildren now,
Yes.
thanks to the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
And so while there's support for kinship caregivers or grandparents raising grandchildren, when in the wisdom of our government, when they added that to the National Family Caregiver Support Program, there was no forethought about what's going to happen if the grandparent gets sick.
Yeah.
So, that's a whole other situation. And often the children are taking care of more than one person. And, when you talk about a sandwich generation family, thank goodness that there are, pieces of bread on either side. Because what about the child in a single parent or a single grandparent home?
Yeah.
And that person is
Yeah.
an only child.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and also, we're kind of coming out of this whole pandemic, and some of the children lost a parent or both parents, and are there with grandparents now, and it's their job to keep an entire household running. So you can just imagine. I can see the need for what you do, and I'm so honored to have made your acquaintance, because I think there should be more awareness to what your organization is doing and how the youth need this support and need community. And I just think what you're doing is amazing. Now, do you yourself have a caregiving story outside of what you do with your mission?
Well, I was like Christy, who cared when she was young. Between the ages of like 11 and 13, I took care of my grandfather, and my parents were divorced. And of course, that was once upon a time, a long, long time ago, when that didn't happen so often. And my mother was working two jobs. My brother,
Yeah.
he was a real brainiac type person, in the basement fiddling with physics or whatever he was doing. And my grandmother really didn't have a caregiving gene. She didn't have that sense of compassion. And so it was really my honor, because my grandfather was my hero. He was my father figure. But at the same time, there were things at that age that I was not prepared to see or to do. Or when I helped him into the bedroom and I was small and he was 6 feet, it was a
Wow.
challenge. Um, and then, I think the final thing was, as his health deteriorated, I had moved into the living room to be closer in case he needed something. And so it was back in March of 1960. And I went to take him his medicine at 2 o'clock in the morning. And, and I can still feel his skin, that was cold when I went to give him his medicine, and I got him no longer breathing. And so that was traumatic, but it was at a time when trauma in children was not recognized. And so
No.
it wasn't really dealt with. And besides that trauma, he was no longer there for me.
Yeah.
I didn't have a person, and, you know, caregiving is such a unique experience of give and take that it's a relationship that's so precious that, yes, it can be overwhelming, but at the same time, there was a whole national um, emphasis on children learning empathy.
Yeah.
And our kids don't need to learn that. They know that. They are compassionate. They understand love. The month of love, right?
Yeah.
Um, they understand that. And I wanted to pick up also on one of the points that Christy made, talking and I think you did too, about community. So, in the past, we've had people say it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to support a caregiver. But one day, one of our caregiving youth was 16, and her mom died when she was 8 of ovarian cancer, and her father was older, he was young 70s, and he became ill. And so she couldn't live alone. So one of our partners in the community has a village, And so I took her there just as kind of an interview to let her see it, see how she felt about it. But to get there, I had to go through a gate. And then there were group homes around, and it was like an enclosed area. And yet it's called a village. And so that's why today I always say it doesn't take a village, it takes a community, because a community doesn't have any boundaries. And
Right.
that's what we need. We need
Yes.
to not have boundaries in caring for one another.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that, because it's true. So we talk about building a worldwide community, and one with no boundaries. And I just love that you say that because it's true. And I think that we're finally in a time now in our development here on Earth to be able to be more acceptant to one another and support one another as that community. So it's a great time to form the community, and it's a great time to recognize those who need that support. Just love what you do. Christy, did you have any questions for Connie?
No, I am just I'm in an awe
I
right
know you
now.
got kind of quiet there.
Um, I I I think back to my journey, and and now I look at it, as the time I got to spend with my grandmother. And my when I first started taking care of my one grandmother who was bedridden, and she taught me to do things from her bed. I still make cornbread the exact way she taught me how to make it from the bed. I'd bring all the ingredients, old TV
Oh,
trays,
That's really
and
gorgeous.
show me. But I remember how scary and overwhelming it was as a teenager, and I am just in absolute awe that you bring awareness to this and support.
So let me share, if we have a couple of minutes, I'll just share a little bit about how our program works. And
yes, I would
so
love
we
to hear
work
that.
so we work in partnership with the school district, which is the 10th largest in the country. And we begin with students in sixth grade. So they're 10, 11 years old. The school sends out an opt out consent to the parents. And then if they don't sign, the child participates in a screening so that we can look at what they're doing and the extent of their caregiving. So we've developed 5 levels of responsibility based on it's a weighted index based on the time that they spend and the tasks that they do. So there's 5 levels, and so to be eligible for services, you have to be in the top 3 of those 5 levels. And then we meet with a student because sometimes boys they just check on a screening form, and so we have to meet with the kids to make sure that um, that they are caregivers, and then invite them into our program and get parental consent. So then in school, we have a curriculum that we developed for skills building that goes from sixth grade through high school. We do lunch and learns that are based on the top 10 diagnoses that pretty much mirror that of the normal population, which you might expect. And then we do a home visit with families that will allow us to see what else we can do to reduce the stress on the child so that they can have a better experience in learning and have the opportunity to learn. So we might provide respite, we might provide tutoring or computers. And often, like one of the boys had complained about his back hurting. And so when we did a home visit, we found that he and his single mom were were lifting his brother in his wheelchair in and out of the house because they had a stoop. They were in a single family home. The stoop was like 3 steps, so you can't go to the medical equipment store and buy a ramp because, it would be like that. And so we were able to find somebody um, who volunteered and got the supplies and built a long sloping ramp. And so
Wow.
that not only helped he and his mom physically, but it meant that after school, he didn't have to rush home when his mom got home from work with his
To
brother
help her.
who had been in medical daycare. So it freed him up also. And then we do fun activities. So the kids learn in their school that they're not alone, and that's really big for them. And then they meet kids from other schools. So this in March 15th, we're joining with the UK on kind of a Caregiving Youth Awareness Day to have a national U.S. Caregiving Youth Connect time, so kids from across the country can connect with each other and know that they're not alone and have supports.
That's amazing. And it's funny you tell that story because it's so, sometimes it seems like such a little thing. Like, oh, you need a ramp, who knew? And so you put in a ramp, but it can be life changing. We had something similar
Absolutely.
like that for a caregiver here who was carrying her father-in-law up and down a flight of 15 steps 3 times a week on her back. And we were able to work with a local company that got a chairlift put in, and it changed their life completely. Just, it seems like something small, where somebody else might go, well, I need this, and they put it in, but not everyone can do that. And being able to not only see that, but facilitate it is an amazing thing to do. So, gosh, thank you for everything you do and for creating awareness for the youth today, because we really need to help them to thrive. We need to help them to self-love too. It's hard enough being at that age. I was a middle school teacher for 15 years, and it was my favorite years because they're still kind of kids, but they're going to adults, but it's a really tough time for them as it is to come out of their shells and to just sort of grasp onto life anyway. So throw caregiving into that, and that's a great thing that you're targeting that demographic, because they really do need that love and they need that support more than anything. So it's wonderful what you do. Thank you so much. I want to make sure that you covered everything you want to. Was there anything else you wanted to share with us? Anything upcoming or any other?
So, one of the challenges is that there's no benefit, there's no public benefit for children doing this. So, in some states, Medicaid will pay a family caregiver, and some other long term care insurance companies will also, and now the VA is doing it. But for children, for any of those services, you have to be 18 or older. So we're trying hard to get the government to recognize children. The last national study was released in 2005. And so we're working with the GAO in Washington to do another national prevalence study. And in Florida, which is our headquarters, we're working to have the Florida Caregiving Youth Act, which can then be a model for other states. So, because when you look at how money flows and how policy flows,
Right.
that the National Family Caregiver Support Program was attached to the Older Americans Act. And so there are age discriminators. So essentially, these children, even though they may be caring for somebody older, it's like reverse age discrimination, and that's got to stop.
Yes, it does. I agree 1,000%. Yes.
For and that we need help with.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. And anyone can get involved. I mean, we talk about this, and we talked about this last night again on our session, Caregivers, and we talked about how important it is for you to understand that caregiving is not necessarily your purpose or mission in life. It's something that you do, and it's wonderful that you do that, and you're there, and that's an amazing thing. But as a human, you still have a mission and a purpose. Here's a great one. If you want to get involved in a cause, contact Dr. Connie Siskowski and the American Association of Caregiving Youth at www.aacy.org. And again, that's aacy.org. Contact them, get involved, help them advocate, even if it's just to give testimony, because you yourself are going through that. Stand up and get involved in a purpose and a mission, because that's a really important thing to do in our lives. And again, be part of a community that helps support one another. So thank you so much for sharing that and for being a guest with us today. Like I said, really honored, and hope we keep in touch, because Hawaii is always,
because now Hawaii is an affiliate, and so we're looking to, the Caregiver Foundation is looking to support and begin a program to support this population in Hawaii. So looking forward to doing that in your beautiful state with your beautiful water and whales and everything.
I know. Yep. And so good. Gary Powell with the Caregiving Foundation. Those of you I've talked about him before, and they're going to be at our expo as well. But also, I'm going to probably have to figure out a way to get him to come on and talk about that and talk about being an affiliate for this, because this is a wonderful, wonderful cause. You guys, thank you so much. And we send you lots of aloha and lots of sunshine in your day today. So thank you for being on with us. And we'll hope to talk to you again sometime, get an update.
I love it. Yeah, we love it.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
you, Connie.
Thank you, Connie.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Aloha. Wow. What an amazing person.
Oh,
What
wow.
an amazing person.
I know. And I am absolutely in awe of the work that they're doing. I think that it is a forgotten aspect of caregivers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And that whole invisible thing, I mean, we as caregivers, we feel like we're isolated and invisible. But can you imagine what that's like at 13?
yeah, unfortunately, I can't say.
I know you can. Yes, I know.
But I know, the fact that she's put this together and is reaching these youth, it's an amazing cause.
It is an amazing cause. And I'm so glad we were able to have her on today. So like I said, this is all about February's all about the month of love. And I know everyone's getting roses, but do something for you, caregivers. So no matter how young or how old you are, no matter what you are doing in life, no matter how your caregiving is, please self-love this month. Give yourself the permission, because you deserve this, and that it's absolutely necessary for you to have a little self-love this month. Make sure you do something for you. In our Giver's Guides magazine as well, remember on that last page is 28 days of self-love. And I believe today was to pamper yourself. I have to go back and check on it. Okay, so, and then also reminder, our support sessions are twice a week, every week, and that's Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. So no matter where you are in the world, you need a community of caregivers. We're not professionals. We're just a bunch of caregivers who get together and support one another and form community. Join us anytime. And again, it's all on our calendar, so you can check it out on our website or in the Giver's Guides. All right. Well, thank you so much for being a special guest with me today and hosting with me today. I really appreciate it, Christy. I know you're busy, and so taking time out.
Thank you for having me on here.
Not at all. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you soon, and I'll probably be talking to you. I think we have a meeting tomorrow, so I'll probably be talking to you tomorrow.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you for being on. Bye. All right. Woo. Wow. What a show. Well, great. Okay. So next week, you guys join me, Savvy, and I have another special guest on next week as well. And that's going to be my co-host, Lonnie Almanza with Alakai Associates. And also we'll be talking to the wonderful and amazing Helen Bauer. She's the host of the Heart of Hospice podcast. She's just an amazing person. And so if you've got questions about hospice, tune in next week. I'll also be having Teresa Wilbanks on, and Teresa Wilbanks is the author of Sustainable Caregiving. Really great book, you guys, worth the read. And if you want to get it, I think you can go on to Amazon for that. But I'll have the information for you next week. Okay, so tune in next week live and every Wednesday at noon right here on the Caring Caregiver Show. And again, brought to you by Give Me a Break and sponsored by Giver's Guides magazine, the only magazine out there currently for caregivers from a caregiver's point of view. And don't worry if you miss us live, that's okay, because you can go onto our podcast on Spotify, Apple, or any platform. Just search Caring Caregiver Show or go to the website, caringcaregivershow.com, and you can look at past shows. All right. Also, if you're on our YouTube channel, please follow and subscribe. We really appreciate it. In the meantime, remember to breathe. Nice deep breath. And here's hoping that you're finding more joy in caregiving every week. And join us here on the Caring Caregiver Show. And thanks for tuning in. Please always be kind to yourself and to all who are caring. Aloha, everyone. Bye.